Good evening and welcome to Performance Link for the Performance Link GT3 Cup here at round number 9 at Daytona, our second night race of the season. Do apologise for being slightly late onto the broadcast, a few technical difficulties behind the scenes, but we are all ready to go for what is going to be an excellent night race. Daytona, one of the most iconic tracks on iRacing. A lot of the drivers will have experience of driving around this at night, but although it is night, it is a well-lit circuit. My name is Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary box with Dave Whitehouse and Lewis Aurora in production box. Dave, welcome to tonight's broadcast. It should be an interesting one.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I mean, welcome everybody to what is the home of endurance racing in America. Maybe not in the world. Le Mans might just nip that one, but Daytona really does come up there with it. Always season beginner for most people in the year with the Daytona 24-hour. This is a good build up to it. So close. I think it's about a month away from the iRacing one, and it'll be good practice for everybody throughout the night. We've had a really close qualifying session, and it's going to be great just to see how everybody gets on. And I think we'll be able to have a quick look at the points.
Yeah, you're going to have to quickly rattle through them because the grid should be starting up very shortly. So in first place currently in the pros is Scott Mokes, 131, Corsi Carl, followed by Aaron Powell in second place on 128. Thomas Cope slipped away a little bit from the early lead that he had in the season, but still on track at 118, and this is very much his track. Iracing Mantis, Kimandre Bortler, Matty Chambers, Nikolai Frayne, Jacob Behrens, Elliot Hellier and Dean Powell head out your top 10. Heading over to the Pro-Am, Michael Hooper is sort of stretching that lead at the top there at 149 points. Patrick Thompson slipping away slightly, 19 points just about in touch, but needs something to happen to Michael in one of the remaining rounds for him to have a chance. And then Casper Tustin in third, closing in on Patrick Thompson just behind. James Logden, after his great win out in Suzuka there, jumps up into fourth overall, 119. So and Russ Fowler in fifth place on 118. So that Pro-Am championship from second down to fifth is still up for grabs. Moving over to the Am field, then we do have Sander Island heading out the field, 152, 11 points ahead of Steve Pierce in second place on 141 with Gordon Haig, and David Gill locked in a battle for that third place at the moment, 124, 123. Joe Searles got an outside chance there in fifth, Jimmy Vark in sixth, Simeon Mordeclev in seventh, Darren Doherty in eighth, Matt Sear in ninth, and Hendrik Harrelson in 10th place. And in the rookie class, it's certainly heating up as well. Our current leader, Paul Joseph Clist, is 6 points ahead of Matthew Gerard in second place. Again, our early sitter out there on track. Lewis McKevney in third on 129. Have a great way of where he was at. And yeah, it's all going off in the championship. But that was a quick rattle through there. But we can take you through the grid as it is here tonight. And on pole position we have Thomas Cope in second place, Scott Mokes, Nikolai Frayne in third, Aaron Powell in fourth, Iracing Mantis in fifth, Jacob Behrens in sixth, Kimandre Bortler in seventh.
In the Pro-Am category, we've got Michael Hooper on yet another pole position, just ahead of Patrick Thompson, who got a lap in just at the end of the session. James Logston is in third from Alex Scarrett in that Audi, going well. Russ Fowler fifth, Tom Bingham sixth, Casper Tunstad seventh, Michael Cody in eighth, Tom Stevens and Christopher Bertrand rounding out the top 10, with Bob Humphrey, Kev Copeland, Christopher Otterholt and Nathan Maxman rounding out that Pro-Am field. In the Am field we have Sander Island, Eric Rusev, Gordon Howe, Matt Strand, Thomas Asperg, Sam Curran, Steve Pearce, Jimmy Vark rounding out the top 8, Eric Steingen, Jorgen Egistad, Mads Sears and Joe Saul in 12th place. Daniel Slater, Simeon Moldeclef and Orvid Breivik rounding out the Pro-Ams. And in the rookies we have Paul Joseph Cliss, Matthew Gerard and Lewis McCleverley taking the field.
Yeah, it's a relatively short rookie field there, but it's all the three main contenders in there as we start going around the outer oval here for the pros to get underway. And it is Thomas Cope expecting big results out of this round, is heading out the field there in first position, closely followed by what was his sort of partner in crime in qualifying, Scott Mokes in second place. You can see Nikolai Frayne there just on the inside with Aaron Powell in 5th place. So it's going to be interesting. We've got all the main protagonists in the Pro Championship out on display, so it's going to be a good one. Looking back at Michael Hooper in the Pro Anfield, leading out that over his main rival of Patrick Thompson overall. But it's going to be an interesting as we just watch them all come around this outer bank, and the lights are on and they are ready racing, and Thomas gets a good start off the line. Scott Mokes caught a little bit napping there. Nikolai Frayne's got that inside line and takes that second place away from Scott Mokes, who Scott was a little bit sleeping there, but Thomas Cope's got away nicely there. Looking further back, Nathan Maximum in the Pro Anfield's literally on his own there. That's a side, so he looks not sure what happened there. So Michael Hooper managing to get that lead. Looking further back at the Anfield as they start off Sander Island there on pole position. Waiting for Eric Rousseff, his best start of the season so far, in second place as they start underway, and Sander gets a decent jump away from the line. Eric Rousseff following him nicely, so managing to keep his place. But looking on the outside there, looks like I think that was Patrick Thompson that maybe lost 2 places off the lead. But looking further back now at the rookie field, only a 3-car grid here, but the top 3 in this championship. Paul gets the race underway. Matthew there just tucked up in second. Lewis in third overall after his great win out in Suzuka. So this is going to be a really epic battle. Lewis goes up the inside there of Matthew taking the position, but if these two start battling, Paul might be able to get slightly away from these two behind, but it's still early days in the championship as we watch the pros coming around the bank for the very first time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the Pro Anfield. I'm sure we'll be able to sort that out before very long, but Tom Cope leading the way from Nikolai Frayne, who's all over the back of that Olympus Esports Porsche, and he's going to take a look down into turn 1, is he? Or is he just going to push him towards... Yeah, he's going to let Thomas take the normal racing line and live the fight on a different day, because there's no point sort of getting too involved early on, especially with the 3 of these just pulling away slightly from Ford GT behind Arb Jakob Behrens. And then back in the Pro Anfield, we've got obviously Nathan Maxman leading the way. We've got to work out what happened there. But James Logston is there in 9th place, leading the Pro Am sort of bulk of the field.
Yeah, it definitely is. Thomas heading out the field, but looking back at the Pro Am driver. Very strange what happened there. He is about 7 seconds ahead of the main pack in that Pro Am field, so not quite sure what happened at the start of the race, how Nathan has somehow managed to get a massive lead in that Pro Am field. But I mean, Nathan is just joined us for the last 6 rounds, so I think overall in the grand scheme of things it's not going to put too much to the points anyway in that Pro Am field race. But looking at it, so let's have a look at the... It looks like he's hooked up on the... Let's have a look here. Okay, so wow. Okay, he certainly should not have gone there, and yes, that's a bit of a mistake there from Nathan, literally jumping on the green, not waiting for the class leader to go. So pretty sure a complaint will be put in to the stewards. I'm just trying to think who he actually took. I think it was Joe Sol of Evo SR Black. Had to see him way down the field now at the start, but certainly a jump start there from Nathan at the start of this race. That would explain as to why he currently is where he is. You literally saw the whole of the field getting out of the way, wondering probably what Nathan was doing. But looking further back now, looking at Bob Humphrey, who's currently 5th in class, 12th overall out in position, trying to chase down Patrick Thompson. But looks like James Logdon has managed to jump both Michael Hooper and Patrick Thompson to take over 2nd place at the moment in this Pro-Am field. Yeah,
it's certainly an interesting one. What I have just heard is Nathan has been requested to drop to the back of the Pro-Am field. I know he hasn't quite done so yet, but he has been requested to to negate that jump start to back where he was, because I think he may have misunderstood the start rules, being new to the series. So we'll see what happens there if he does follow the race direction rules. But back up front, this is Arias Mantis, who's moved up into 4th place, just ahead of Kim Andre Borkland and Aaron Powell. Where has the Ford GT gone? Dropped into the pits by the looks of it of Jakob Behrens. So yet again, just not luck for that Ford GT.
I'm pretty sure that we'll get a replay of what happened there to Jakob a little bit later on, but currently watching this battle out for 4th place at the moment. Arias heading this group with Kim Andre Borkland, Aaron Powell in 6th place, finding himself at the back of what is the pro grid at the moment after his really good last couple of rounds. Seems to be struggling a little bit out here. Always see Kim just diving up the inside, pushing Arias out wide. This may give Aaron Powell the opportunity to make the passing move, but no, Arias literally puts out the muscles of that Mercedes and says, no, I'm only letting up 1 place here. But great passing move there from Kim Andre Borkland. One of them places on this track that if you're brave enough, you can get that move done, and that was a perfect illustration of how to by Kim Andre Borkland to take over what is now 4th place out on grid. But it's a little bit of a 2-gap race here between the front 3 and the second one. But yeah, it's
I think this may have caused a little bit of a gap, because Jakob Behrens was running 4th and has dropped off into the pit lane. So just seeing now, yeah, big hit with the wall and into the tyre wall. Look at rear wing, a lot stronger on that than the Porsche. That is a toe to the pits, because that is no rear wheel on the car by the looks of things, or broken suspension at least. No, he tries to keep going. No, he realizes it's not going to make it, so it is a toe to the pits.
He's not really having much luck in that Ford. Obviously, he took on the challenge given by the admins of the series if anyone was brave enough to drive the Ford, and Jakob took on that mantle, but hasn't really done it that much justice in the rounds. He seems to have really good starts, and then it's just little silly mistakes that put paid to his races in the majority of the races out here today. But looking further back now at James Logston, who is now behind his teammate there of Michael Hooper. So Michael's managed to get past him for what is 2nd place, but probably will be 1st place when Nathan does decide to either come in and take a bit more time in the pit stop to get to the back of the grid. You can see him just up front as we look at the screen is Nathan after that jump start, going probably on the green and not following the orders of going on the race lead. But looking back at Bob as well, but yeah, there he is, Nathan, currently.
Yeah.
They caught up quite well with him. I think he is slowing down, to be fair.
I think he's backing off. He just hasn't done it all in 1 lap, which, to be honest, can be a little bit dangerous if there is people around you. But for the Kira esports team, Nathan Maxman is dropping back, and he has been ordered to go to 21st, which is the back of the Pro-Am. So hopefully he will do that very shortly. James Logston now back into the lead of the or the standard lead of the Pro-Ams, because he's got past Michael Hooper, and Patrick Thompson's still hanging on behind there. And a good run by Bob Humphrey right now. He's still in that group, still really fighting along, but the slipstream is everything here, and everybody's trying to pick up on that. But Nathan obviously with a lot to drop. It's about 2 seconds back to James Logston, and then there's a gap of 6 seconds into the pack of Casper Tunstad, which then goes down to about 20th place. Casper, a bit of a cork in the bottom right now.
Yeah, Casper and Tom Bingham were fierce rivals on this track. Tom was in front of Casper, but Casper has managed to get back out in front. He is currently leading this second group here, 7 seconds behind Bob Humphrey, with Tom Stevens in 13th, but just behind him. But obviously Nathan, doing the move he did, probably put a lot of the drivers off. He literally saw the back markers just trying to get out of the way of him as he was charging through, and unfortunately picking up Joe Saul there on the formation lap, which is a bit disappointing for Joe, obviously trying to get some valuable points in the championship. So I'd imagine he's not a happy chappy in his rig at the moment, but that is probably for the stewards after the race to decide what happens there. But looking at there, Christopher Otterholt in 17th position in the Mercedes for IGL Coating E-Racing. Again, he's not really done a lot of rounds, but he is a very quick driver. It must be that Daytona, like you were saying, Dave, is one of the tracks that every driver likes to race. The grid is 39 cars in total, so it's probably as big as it's ever been for a good couple of rounds.
Yeah, it's great to see so many drivers in here. Eric Rousseff currently leading the AM field, just ahead of his teammate Thomas Ashford. This is a new team send it racing to the series, only done one round so far after Fuji's little iracing issues. Right behind, they've got two Norwegian cars of Sander Island and Gordon Howe, followed by two more Norwegians of Eric Steingen and Simeon Mudderclef. So I mean, if you see there, from 20th down to 25th are all from the Norwegian country. I think we've probably just got the whole of the population in this series rated to go with the Norwegians. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one, because Sander Island leading the championship. There's no sign of Steve Pearce at this moment in time, and David Gill a bit further back as well. So it is interesting, as we just see on the time screen, Arish Yamamantis and Aaron Powell continuing to swap positions, just not quite working together, these three. They're really fighting it out for this fourth place and allowing Thomas Cope and Nikolai Frame, who are now starting to drop Scott Moakes, to battle it out at front. And got to be honest, you know, Nikolai's been really quick this year and had a lot of unlucky situations. And then he was in the battle, I think, with Kim Andre Borkland for the podium last time out, just about missing out. So it's about time we saw Nikolai right at the very front, not with errors or anything like that. It's just literally trying to get there at the front. So yeah, not ideal, but
Going to be an interesting race.
Yeah, not the ideal season, but this Mercedes looking good.
Certainly is. Thomas Cope was hoping probably to be a little bit further out at the moment than what it was being. This is his favourite track on the whole of the calendar here. Currently still in first place, but we all know the power of the slipstream, certainly around this bank section. But Nikolai there, we just saw there, could have made a passing move, an opportunity into the bus stop, and he's literally quite happy just sit behind Thomas Cope here, saving a little bit of fuel, hoping to do that extra lap a bit more at the moment. But these two have broken away from Scott Moakes, and probably more importantly is that slipstream as he won't have that slipstream anymore, will Scott Moakes being 2 seconds behind the pair that we're currently watching on screen with Thomas Cope and Nathaniel Frayne. And he's on his own at the moment, because you see that in fourth place, Aaron Powell is currently leading out that trio between himself, Kim Andre Borkland and Arias Yamanta. So it's a real big battle there for fourth place in the pro category, ensuing in fourth place out of track. But in the top of the pro-ams, we do finally have James Logden has taken the lead. Nathan Maximum, see there just in second place. Patrick Thompson third, and Bob Humphrey in 10th place. But sorry, Nathan Maximum should just start getting over to the side as we see him, these cars through the international horseshoe there, but hanging on a little bit too close there with Bob Humphreys coming at around turn number 4 here. It's not really backing off a lot there, Dave.
No, Nathan being new to the series, I think very confused by probably why he's been asked to drop back when nobody went. But it's down to him to read the rules. That's the point. And if the rule book says you don't do that, you don't do that. And that he actually caught somebody on the way through as well is sort of a double-edged penalty as things are. But I'm sure it'll be brought up later on. Here's Lewis McCleverly and Paul Joseph Cliss leading the rookie category. They've dropped Matthew Gerard to a tune of about 8 seconds at this moment in time. Matthew not quite getting on this circuit as he would hope, and the two rookie drivers, sorry, just dropping the New Zealander just a little bit. That is just a bit of a back spike for Lewis. If you suddenly saw him disappear, but he is still leading away by half a second for Paul Joseph Cliss, who's had a really strong first half of the season without being right at the very forefront of pace, he is still leading the points category and looking very strong towards what can be a championship challenge with these remaining 4 rounds to go.
Yeah, we only got 4 rounds left after tonight's round. It would have only been 3 if, like you said, round 7, the Fiji incident didn't happen with iRacer, but we do have that back in the calendar. But just before the Le Mans on the 23rd of January, we will go back to Fuji on that. But let's more concentrate on tonight's race. Watch Sander Island there, just slipping the wrong way down the field. Currently P5 in class. And you can, I'm sort of looking at Stephen Pierce. He's actually right behind him now in P15. It's the car just in the background, just coming around the corner. So the early advantage that Sander Island had is sort of eroding away. And the big surprise is Eric Rosseff, who's currently leading out the AM field. He's doing an exceptional job at the moment, keeping it up for the Send It Racing team. Obviously his second outing in the championship, joined us for the last 6 rounds, but really showing his pace around Daytona here, and has been leading this class from the start. So it's going to be interesting to see if Eric can hold on, because he does have literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers just lined up quite closely behind him. And as we said, the slipstream coming around this outer bank is extremely strong, so it may be that there is a little bit of fuel saving tactics going on by George Haig in second place, because he's in no rush to get past Eric Rosseff there, who's currently leading at the end. So interesting battle there in Shun as well. But looking a little bit further up, Kim-Andre Bortler looks like he might have had an issue. He's currently been dropped by that 4th battle, 2.4 seconds behind Arya Shimantas now. What will happen? Let's have a look to see what happened to Kim-Andre Bortler. Is coming down here towards the bus stop. Yes, it is. Does he have an issue coming in here? Coming up really close. Oh yeah, just loses it. Literally just misses him, and luckily Kim doesn't go into the wall, so is still able to keep going, but would have lost a mountain of time, hence that 2 seconds behind Arias now.
Yeah, but to be fair, a great save as well by Kim-Andre, because the grass is so slippy after this new update, and it's like ice, especially with the winter conditions we've got here. So a great save by Kim-Andre, and lives to fight another day. Well, good awareness by Arias to miss him coming back onto the circuit. I don't think Kim could have done a huge lot more about it. Here is Patrick Thompson, though, looking for the Pro-Am lead. Thompson, who set a lap right at the end of the qualifying session to get himself up into P2 on the class grid, is now there with Bob Humphrey, looking super impressive in that orange and black Lamborghini just behind him. And Bob actually trying to look for a move by the looks of it. A little bit of bump draft there in the middle of the corner. Risky business there by the Englishman, but he is having the strongest run he's had all season, and he's pushing the Nordic racing car towards last time's Pro-Am winner, James Logston, who won in Suzuka and is looking on imperious form yet again here. Michael Hooper's now made his way past Nathan Maximin, who is still slowly falling downfield. I think the damage might be causing some of that as well. So, but he has another 6 seconds to drop back to Casper Goodson.
Yeah, definitely is, and it's Michael Hooper. This is a good opportunity for Patrick Thompson, but we said this before, and obviously touch wood we haven't commentated, Kirsten. Patrick Thompson and James Logston at the front to gain some valuable points. We did see there's about a 19-point gap between Michael Hooper and Patrick Thompson at the start. There's only 1 pace difference there, so that's only probably around about 2 points that Patrick is going to top if it ended here. But it seems to be that Michael's suffering a bit, 1.5 seconds, so we'll be out of range on that slipstream advantage. But looking further down in the grid, we're looking at Michael Cody, a resident American there in P18, just towards the back end of the Pro-Am field. Just have Kev Copeland in front, then you've got Otto Holt in front of him, and then Fowler leading out this quadruple cars on track for battling over P15 at the moment. Tom Bingham in no man's land in P14, not got 3.6 seconds to Tom Stevens in 13th, and 1.5 seconds is behind the battle that we're watching currently out on track.
Yeah, it's certainly a close battle throughout the seat. Well, it's close throughout the field, to be fair, but back up front we haven't missed out much because Nikolai Frane is still just 0.2 of a second behind Thomas Cope, applying the pressure. Now, Thomas Cope does have a little bit of an advantage around this circuit. Like you said, it was his favourite on the calendar, and he did do an hour, almost 2-hour race, sorry, just before the qualifying session begun. He was out for the Olympus Esports team having another event. It didn't quite go to plan for him, but it did go well for the Olympus team as a whole. So Thomas just looking for a bit of redemption here and try and get that win, but he is certainly dragging Nikolai Frane with him, which is good for Thomas in the championship. Scott Mokes leading the way, has got a car between Cope and Mokes in terms of the points, which is all important with such a close point system we've got. And no slowdowns, no cuts there for Cope, just absolute pinpoint perfect through the chicane, and he now has Nikolai Frane 3 tenths behind, and you will see that gap just literally disappear along this straight because the toe is so strong. And there we go, Nikolai Frane already right up behind, but deciding still not to try and overtake and to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, definitely. Shooting around in these 3 cars is insane. You can literally take up half a second, and Nikolai doing what he did out in, I think it was Suzuka, he did the same as well, just staying behind the first place car. She did come a little bit of a cropper around there. I think it was back marker that he involved with, really put pay to his race, so that may be playing on his mind when these pro drivers actually start hooking on to the back end of the grid. But at the moment, Thomas Cope is still your leader, followed by Nathan Frane second. Got Mokes in third, literally just falling all the time off these two's pace at the front. Is heading out the grid. Aaron Powell fourth, starting in 6th place, trying to make best use of the situation really, as you see Jacob Behrens there behind Scott. See a lap down home after his earlier lap incident, and when he's on the pace, he's on the paces, Jacob, but it's just had a few incidents throughout the rounds that have really put pay to it. But that Ford certainly does have the pace.
Yeah, it certainly does. I just noticed we also have Egistad has retired from the race as well, so that was one of the Norwegian clan, as we'll call it, who was in that Pro-Am position, and he's had to sadly retire from the race. Matt Zerd near the back and Matt Strander near the back as well. I think they've had to obviously have recoveries from issues later on, but this is the Pro-Am field still, led by the American James Logsdon here at one of his home tracks on the calendar. Really, you know, we said the first half of the season for James was a tough one. There's the odd mistake, the odd issue, the odd mix-up, and it just didn't go to plan for James. But the win at Suzuka was almost faultless. You know, we did get told afterwards he had a slight spin at 130R, but still managed to win the event. And now he's continuing to have the pressure of Patrick Thompson and Bob Humphrey behind him and holding them back. This is Christopher Otterholt just following Russ Fowler, the two Mercedes trying to push forward with Tom Bingham just ahead. Tom's actually, I think, trying to close down on Tom Stevens, because I have just noticed Casper Tunstad has dropped to 19th and one of the last Pro-Am in the field, so I don't know what's happened to Casper there. 156 last time by, so lost 10 seconds. And here we go with replay to see what happened in the Lamborghini, and he's going down into turn number 1, and does he just lose the back end? Yeah, just too much speed on the way in, and around he goes, and that was the Evo SR Lamborghini just ahead of him. Maybe just put him off slightly on his braking point, too much speed, and the back of the Pro-Am field. That's crucial for the guy who's third in the championship.
Certainly is, and it's just silly little mistakes like that coming into the turn number 1. Very easy to do here out in Daytona, as you will all probably testify. We've all done that once in our lifetime, going around Daytona, coming into that turn number 1. It can be a very tricky corner because you're literally at full speed and then just trying to judge your braking markers to get stopped. But looking at Christian, he's now making his move here on Russ Fowler coming up to the bus stop. It's good. If it goes other side, no, Russ, probably quite rightly so, just backs out to let Christopher get the upper hand on him around there. There's no point going side by side. Still only 25 minutes into this hour-long race, so plenty of time. And now Russ can have the slipstream off Christian, and if they work together, then they could possibly get themselves up to Tom, who's actually been brought back into these two battling out on track. So Tom without any slipstream, and these two guys behind with slipstream is caught in the gap. But we're looking at Tom Stevens now, who's just ahead of Tom Bingham in 12th place, who's in sort of definitely in no man's land at the moment. 8.6 seconds behind Nathan Maximin in 11th place. So pretty boring drive at the moment probably for Tom. 3.6 seconds ahead of Tom Bingham, but you can see that gap behind to Christian Otterholt is coming down all the time. Less than a second now, so we'll be in the slipstream. So these three will be coming together very shortly.
Yeah, and in the Anfield, sorry, Gordon Hauges took the lead from Thomas Asperg, and Eric Rusev has dropped down into third. But this queue of 4 cars have now dropped Eric Steingen, who has fallen into the clutches of Steve Pearce, who's slowly moving through the field. And remember, this is an hour-long race. These guys will not have enough fuel to make the end, so a pit stop will be required. And it'll be interesting to see. We are around the time, actually, but pit stops will start happening. And I know what will be happening in the brain of Nikolai Frane. He will be deciding to pit whenever Thomas Cope pits and keep that battle and the slipstream as close as he can. As we go to replay, this is Gordon Haug going for the position for the lead of the class. He'd already passed one of the Sendit cars, and I think he's heading round towards the chicane here, and Eric just sees it happening and just lets him go, because there's no point fighting when the tow is that strong around the oval.
It's definitely not. It's almost like he gave him the position, tuck up behind him, but he did lose a place out to one of his teammates, Thomas Asperg. Lost out there as well, so we lost 2 positions, but quite gladly gave that position up there to Gordon Haig. And just obviously following the slipstream, there's still plenty of this race to go, and we all know, you know, when it gets to the round of pit stops, that's when it all starts kicking off, as you see them all go around for another lap in the Anfield around turn number 1. So pretty much status quo. These 4 locked together in a battle, and like you said, you know, Eric Esterhan is sort of got off the pace, and Steve Pearce has now got somebody to chase down in 24th position. So losing a little bit of points, but does have a few points in the bag in that AM Championship to be getting on with. But looking further back at the rookies, we have Lewis McEvely there, as you can just see in the background. Paul Joseph Clist trying to get past Alexander Scaret there, so there is a car now in between the 2 rookie drivers, but I'm pretty sure Alexander will either help Paul Joseph Clist to try and get up to Lewis, or he will move out the way. So this battle for the Anfield still there in the throes, but Lewis does seem to have the pace at the moment over Paul, but Paul does have that lead, so can afford, as it's literally only 1 place between the 2 drivers, which is 2 points lost. So each of the drivers in each of these divisions have the same points no matter where they finish out on track. It's the position they finish within class, and the only difference, which is more than 1 point, is between first and second, and that's only 2, and then it basically comes down all the time. But look at Arius Romantis in the pit lane. I'm assuming there's got quite a few of the drivers in. We've got James Logston, Tom Stephen, Tom Bingham, Russ Fowler, Christian Otterholt, Michael Cody, Nathan Maximin, Kev Copeland, Chris Behrmans is all in the pit lane. So the round of pit stop, we can just see them all down the pit lane now, and it's going to be interesting to see who can come out on front.
Yeah, we had a lap before Michael Hooper hit it, so he actually decided to lose the slipstream getting in the pits, get his pit stop done before everybody else came in. So he is now moving. Will he get out in front of James Logsdon? Just having a look now on the timing screen, James Logsdon leaving pit lane, and Michael Hooper's jumped him, so it's worked for Michael Hooper, the German. James Logsdon was leading the way in the class, and it looks like James has lost a bit of time in the pits as Thomas Cope and Nikolai Frame both head for pit lane as well. But that is crucial for Michael Hooper's championship. James Logsdon's still in it, but they are teammates, so they will probably now work together to try and chase down the three that have not picked it, which is Patrick Thompson and Bob Humphrey, with Casper Tunstad a bit further back after his spin, so that's a bit of a false third place for Casper right now. But the leaders, Thomas Cope, Nikolai Frame, Aaron Powell all in, Bob Humphrey comes in. Looks like Patrick Thompson is going to try and go round again. Yeah, Patrick Thompson goes round again. Scott Motes goes round again. Kim-Andre Borkland goes round again. So they've really managed to save a little bit of fuel in all of this traffic. So let's see who comes out in front between Nikolai Frame and Thomas Cope.
Yeah, it definitely is. They're both on the pit exit. It looks like Nikolai's managed to leapfrog Thomas Cope in the pit stops there, which could be vital. But obviously we have to look at Scott Motes and Kim-Andre Borkland. They were a bit back from these two, so they shouldn't really fade into this battle. But what is Nikolai Frame has managed to leapfrog Thomas Cope in that round of pit stops there, and now it's Thomas that's going to have the edge. But you know, coming into the latter half of this, 29 minutes to go here, the second car placed in the second position is probably the ideal place you want to be going into the closing stages. We've already seen the power of that slipstream around the back straight, so if he's close enough, Thomas, that is the ideal position he wants to be in, and I'm pretty sure that he will not make a move past Frame for that lead when we see Scott Motes and Kim-Andre Borkland come in for their pit stops at the moment, which there we see Scott Cohen into the pits. And you know, one of the other things I haven't seen if we've actually had anyone, it looks like we haven't, I think, is that speeding in the pit lane. Very easy to do around Daytona, because you're literally flat out coming around the bend trying to pick your marking point for the braking coming into there, as we watch Patrick Thompson come in, look on board, literally trying to get the car stopped to the speed limit of the line, managing to get it done perfectly there. So great pit entry there for Patrick, and see where he comes out in the round of the Pro-Ams at the moment. You can see Bob Humphrey as well. I mean, what happened there? Bob Humphrey's been in for his pit stop. He is now in front of Michael Hooper and James Logsdon to the tune of half a second. So Bob has had an excellent pit stop there and managed to leapfrog Michael Hooper and James Logsdon in that round of pit stop. So a great race, and like you said, you know, has always done well, but seemed to be involved in incidents, but is really putting on a show here tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly a great run by Bob Humphrey. I don't think we've seen him anywhere near sort of leading the class. He's been up there at times, but not consistently like this. And he's now got Michael Hooper looking to be outside, but these guys are just fighting. And there's Patrick Thompson on the inside. James Logsdon goes up the inside of Michael Hooper as he runs wide. And Patrick Thompson has lost out big time here. And
oh no, he's spun.
He's spun in the pit lane. And actually, I think he spun before the speed limit line, which is unusual. So I don't know whether we might be able to get a replay of that or not, because it's not actually out on the track. So whether the game will pick this up, I'm not too sure. But Patrick was in a really strong position right behind James Logsdon, and he is now over 10 seconds behind Logsdon. He had Bob Humphrey right behind him, who's 10.5 ahead. And here he goes, just too much speed around the corner, which, as I say, when you're on the pit limiter, it's quite hard to do. So yeah, that's quite a strange one for the driver from Denmark. But Patrick Thompson now needing to put on a charge for his championship challenge, because Michael Hooper, from where it was looking, was going to be behind him, and is now running third in class, 10 seconds ahead of him. Yeah,
that's the beauty of the round of pit stops. It just throws that spanner in the works from what would be an hour-long race if we gave the drivers the fuel, but we unfortunately don't. So they did have to do that pit stop around here, and it does throw up some real big ones. And I think it was just overzealous there from Patrick Thompson, just trying to get out because he could see that he had an opportunity to get up with the front four, and was a little bit too over enthusiastic on that accelerator pedal. Must have come off the limiter and literally spun his car around. So that's probably one Patrick will not live down in the chat after the being the only driver to spin on the exit of the pit lane here at Daytona. But looking back at Aaron Powell, he has managed to overtake Scott Mopes for that last place on the podium in third place. So Scott really struggling out here in Daytona. Was second overall on the grid, but is now down to fourth place. It's 4.7 seconds to Arias behind, so hopefully he should be safe there, but has moved the wrong way down the field as we watch Alexander Skrek on extremely wide there around turn number 1 in a battle with Michael Cody just in front of him, and behind is Russ Fowler. So this is a battle that's been ensuing for the first half of the race, and now it's going to continue all the way to the second. So you got Casper Tungsten in 15th, Michael Cody in 16th, Alexander Skrek, who we're currently watching on stream, in 17th, and Russ Fowler there in P18. So these four cars are in a hot battle in the last 25 minutes of this race.
Yeah, I think you'll find Alex Skrek might owe us a pit stop because it wasn't. I think he had one quite early on in the race. We'll find out very soon. But we're looking at Paul Joseph Cliff, who now leads in the rookie category. We said he was stalking Lewis McLevin, and it seems to have worked for him through pit stop. So he is now just ahead of Lewis. There's two leaders going through. Paul letting Nikolai and Thomas through quite nicely in the Olympus Esports car, and Paul now has a lead of 3.1 seconds over Lewis, and then it's a further, but it's quite far back to Matthew Gerard, who is one of the last of our runners now, as Matt Sturge heads to pit lane and is sitting in pit lane at the moment. I'm not sure if he is doing his pit stop or not, but Matthew Gerard just picking up the points here tonight. He's not quite got the pace to be right up the front of the rookie category like we've seen this season, but this Mercedes, I'll be honest, Mercedes doesn't seem to be going well in many of the classes, apart from Nikolai Freyne, who seems to be at one with this Mercedes right now around the circuit. As we now look at Madsur, it's going into the chicane. There's Lewis up the inside, and Matt's just didn't see him coming and spins around in the middle of the chicane. Matt might have just broke a little bit of steering for the BMW driver.
Yeah, definitely was, and that's why we sort of say don't go side by side into the bus stop, because you can have incidents like that. It seemed like a little bit of a late lunge there by Lewis to try and make that move done, but he was just trying to probably close down the gap to Paul Joseph Clist out in front. And the big reason why that switch over in that rookie field is because the pit stop. So Paul Joseph Clist did a 23.47, where Lewis McCleverly did a 27.25. So that's how they've managed to change over. And one thing that Paul Joseph Clist has now got in his advantage is that he's managing to hook on to the back of these two front runners and able to get that slipstream. And Lewis, as you can see in the middle, he's got no slipstream at all. So this will be paying into Paul Joseph Clist's hand if he can stay with these two drivers for as long as possible, certainly on the back straight, to be able to get that slipstream, which will pull him along and get him further away from Lewis at the moment. But you know, that's where all the tactics for the pit stops come into play. You know, we can see 3-second difference between the two rookie drivers, and it could have cost Lewis the podium in this race.
Yeah, I was just looking at them pit stop times, and for some reason it says Russ Fowler did it in 4.7 seconds. That's mightily impressive if he managed to do that, especially if he got a tyre change in there as well. But as we're looking out on track, Thomas Cope still pushing Nikolai Freyne along. He knows he doesn't need to pass him right now. It's all about the end of the race, and he's seen, you know, seen mistakes from Nikolai this year, so maybe he's just thinking a little bit of pressure on the driver from Denmark might just be enough to not need to overtake, because there might be a mistake by a Mercedes driver, but we've not seen one yet. And as we said about drivers in form, Aaron Powell up into third place after his dominant win at Suzuka. He is really on a fly, and this pro field are going to get really close together with a few surprising championship contenders in this second half of the season.
Definitely is. It's a 12-round race. To get to drop for the drivers, the two worst. You know, the early 6 rounds, Thomas Cope really making the charge earlier on. Last couple of rounds has been involved in a few on opening lap incidents. It's really put pay to him, pushing it quite hard and then getting involved in other incidents. So he needs to start having some decent clean round, and this will be a good platform here in Daytona if he's able to. Even if he got into second place, it would still be good. But let's have a look here. What happened to Casper Toasted here coming on to the oval? Did he take it right? It got collected behind. I think that is Alexander Scret, yeah, who unfortunately clipped the back end of him. So easily to done there. These Lamborghinis are stiff as, obviously using. Oh no, who was that?
That is an Evo SR Porsche by the looks of it. So I'm just trying to think who is still in the Porsche. Oh, it's Kev Copeland in the Porsche. So obviously Kev has come round. I think you'll find there's something broken with Casper's car. Casper hasn't realised till he's got there, and it's just locked up on him, and he's gone up the banking, and it's took Kev Copeland out of the running in this race. It looks like Kev, does he manage to rejoin, or is it no, he does rejoin, but it could be a Toto pits. Christian Bertrand's in the pits there, and let's see what happened to him in the Audi. Oh, he just tries to avoid it, and that's why the drivers were told in practice not to go below the line unless they had to, because rejoining is so difficult in terms of back onto the banking, and maybe just a little bit of a rush to get back on the bank. It might have been better to stay down on the apron, but it's easy to say. I think the back end was already loose and he was trying to control that, never mind worrying about where he was going to rejoin the circuit. But back up front, Nikolai Frayne still leading from Thomas Cope, who is, these two have been glued together all race long, no more than a second between them the whole race as they come up behind a BMW. That looks like Matt Zerd, Daniel Slater, sorry, who has just dropped off the back of the AM field at this moment in time. So these guys will be right up behind him. Nice little slipstream for Nikolai here, heading round towards the bus stop chicane. So that will help him out. He'll take every last inch of that slipstream he can, as there's a new best lap of the race for themselves for Tom Bingham that time round, who's in the midst of a battle with Christopher Otterholt, who are now closing down on Tom Stevens. So those 3 drivers are closing down on Patrick Thompson. So it's a nice little battle there. Currently for 5th in the Pro-Am class. Patrick Thompson really probably kicking himself about that spin in the pit lane, because without that he would be looking at being easily 4th in class and possibly somewhere near the back of Michael Hooper, his championship rival.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you saw there with Nikolai Frayne, but if we get a shot of Nikolai when he's coming onto the oval and when he's coming out of the bus stop, you can really see he gets a little bit more of an advantage and a bit of a better exit than Thomas Cope, and that may be vital when it comes into the closing stages of this race. You know, getting that little slight second. You can see him literally glued together here. Perfect time to join this battle, but look how close Thomas Cope is, and we'll see if Vanna basically gets a good exit out of this next corner onto the oval. So you can see how close Thomas is to the back end of Nikolai's car here as he's coming down here, just gone past the International Horseshoe to the tight right hand corner before they take the corner onto the outer oval. And you can just see how close Thomas is, but it seems to be this corner here that Nikolai really gets like a half-second gap on Thomas. I think Thomas has seen that now and managed to close that down, but it's also on the exit of the bus stop that Nikolai, you can see a little slight gap there, so a little bit more speed is Nikolai being able to get on there, but then obviously he closes up again right to the end. Thomas just staying behind, but let's watch to the end of the bus stop and to see if Nikolai manages to get that gap over Thomas. And coming in let off a little bit, it just seems that Nikolai can get that little bit of a gap over Thomas, but then you have the slipstream effect. We'll see here. I bet he's just lining him up to see what he can do on the final lap of this. So he's coming right up to the back of Nathaniel Nikolai. So what do I keep calling him Nathaniel? I don't know. Back up to the end. So you can sort of see there he's feathering the throttle. So he's certainly lining him up for a pass on that last lap.
Yeah, I think commentated on a Nathaniel together before, but I don't think in this series. So
no, I don't think so. I don't know.
You know,
Nathaniel, so I do apologise, Nikolai. If
we apologise, Nikolai, and just forgive him in his old age, getting near Christmas. You know, it is a lot to think about. You know, he's got to dress up as Santa in the next week as well. Nikolai though doing a great job. You know, it's a huge amount of pressure off the Olympics esports driver of Thomas Pope, and he's living with it all the way at this moment of time. I noticed nobody using my special little line into the second hairpin, which we found at last year's Daytona 24 Hour, which gave you that little bit more grip on the inside, and it also scares the hell out of the people just in front of you because they think that you're trying to dive bomb on them, when actually you just find a little bit more grip. But maybe that line isn't here anymore on iRacing. I guess I'll find out in the next month or so when I'm practicing for the 24 Hour. But back in the AM category, Eric Rousseff is back in the lead of the class with Thomas Asperg, and those two are working nicely together to pull away from Sandra Island, who is doing his best to try and hold on, but he's down in third in class. But technically, this is still a good result for Sandra Island. He was ahead of Steve Pearce, who now hits the inside wall and hits that. Yes,
that's Gordon Haig, isn't it?
Sorry, no, that was Simeon. What? No, it was Gordon. It was two of the cars. I think it was Simeon Moldeclef, yeah, and Gordon Hull and Steve Pearce. So that is Gordon who spins round with Steve. Steve tries to miss Simeon, hits the wall, and then glides into Gordon. And that will be one probably for the stewards. I say the stewards, me and Andy, on Wednesday night. And I guess that will probably come up. But I don't think there's a huge amount Steve could do once he'd hit the wall. And it was something I mentioned in the driver's briefing. Watch that pit wall. I've seen too many people just clip it, and it does not do your car any good. I'm surprised Steve has been able to continue driving actually after hitting that. But he would just have to watch. But you can't see any front end damage, but there will be some radiator damage there. So you want to make sure that car gets to the end of the race. But that fault drops him down into 6th in class. Could possibly be a drop score here for Steve Pearce. But luckily for him and for Sander, 2 cars in front of them both are drivers who have only just joined the championships, not really in the running for a championship challenge. So they will sort of negate any win bonuses for any drivers. Whereas now we look at Jakob Burns in the Ford GT, always got to get a good sight of this car, rarity in iRacing in general. And
it's like a dodo car, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. A bit like the McLaren these days as well. And there is Kev Copeland just letting the drivers through. Just behind you can see, that's number 10, so that's Scott Mopes coming through the field. He is being dropped by Aaron Powell in the battle for the podium. So actually pro drivers, apart from the top 2, are really spread out in this field, and it's the pro-am field that are giving us a right good fight, as Bob Humphrey is having to take on the pressure of 2 pro-am Team Bear Pope cars working together to try and get most championship points possible. They are really high up in the team's championship, and in the drivers' championship, Michael Hooper leading the way, James Logston winner last time out. Bob Humphrey actually not a lot to lose, because he has been a bit in and out of the championship so far, and this is, as we said before, the best run we've seen so far, and he's really got nothing to lose apart from trying to win this race.
Definitely has 12 minutes left of this race to go. Bob Humphries is still holding that number 1 slot in the pro-am field over James Logston and Michael Hooper. Nathan Maximin there is still in 10th place. Not really done what the stewards asked to drop into the back of the grid. Patrick Thompson there in 11th place with Tom Stevens. Currently watching Tom and the Toms, should I say, Tom Bingham and Tom Stevens having a nice little battle on track with myself. But you've got Christian Otterholt just behind as well. So these three cars having a nice tight battle for P12 overall, around about 6th in class. Is the points on offer here as we watch Alexander Skrek go slightly wide, and I think Ross may have the opportunity to make that pass and move here coming down, but is not on the ideal line. Alexander is just trying to put his nose on the inside there between the two, but Ross will have the inside line here for the right-hander, tight right-hander, so should get the, but Alex comes on the inside, and these two having a nice little battle around them three corners there, but looks like Ross has managed to get the move done, but Alex will come back at him around the outside on the oval. So interesting battles throughout the field, but looking back at the front, it's still the same. Nikolai Frayne in first, Thomas Cope right on his rear wing. I don't think he's going to let him go, so it's going to be an interesting last lap here, and I think that's all Thomas is looking at, is how to make that pass and move on the last lap. Pretty much doing it Days of Thunder style, just trying to clip it on the line for Nathaniel, but Nathaniel's told him again. Nikolai, sorry, I do apologise.
I'm sure there's a Nathaniel in a GT championship we've commentated. I have no idea,
before, but I need to have a word with myself.
While Andy goes and has a word with himself in a very dark corner, we did see there with the Audi just how well it turns when it's trying to do the undercut on Russ Fowler compared to Mercedes, and it's great try there by Alex Skrek, but didn't quite work. Tom Bingham is still fixed in a battle with Christopher Otterholt. There they are, just in front of Tom Stevens there. These three are right in the battle. I would say for 6th in class, but obviously Nathan Maxman, as we've heard, not dropped back to where he got asked by race director. So that will be something that will come up in the stewards later on, either tonight or later on in the week. As we always say, we do have the podcast on Wednesday night, Tuesdays or Wednesday nights. It just depends what both of us are doing, and we interview one of these drivers as side by side, Russ Fowler and Alex Skrek, and Alex now has the inside line of this corner. I still don't know where Alex has suddenly come from in this race. He was a bit sort of an enigma during this race, and then all of a sudden has moved up, so that's why I'm still debating whether he needs another pit stop to make it to the end of the race. But I think Tom Bingham, Christopher Otterholt and Tom Stevens are having a right real ding-dong, like Russ Fowler and Alex Skrek. And Russ Fowler really does need the points in this, and Alex actually, because these two are in there in the championship fight, and this could be a drop score for these guys when it comes to the end of the season. Just having a look now, the top three are well clear in the Pro-Am and fighting. This is actually top Christopher Otterholt. We'll get his first names right tonight, honestly. Tom Stevens alongside, and Tom Bingham just behind, and Tom just having it. Bingham having a watch and brief, and now alongside the other Tom of, no, we'll get it right, Otterholt, he was alongside, and Tom Stevens is out just ahead still. So this battle really strong, probably for 5th in class by the end of the race once everything's gone through. But back of the front, Nikolai Frayne still leading away, 1/10 of a second. Thomas Cope pushing him along, just doesn't want to pass because he knows Nikolai has the pace now, and it will be all very interesting to see whether Thomas can pull off, move around the outside of the last lap. That is the only thing he's lining up for this moment in time. At the front of the Pro-Ams, Bob Humphrey still having that. We haven't seen Bob have to look after the pressure like he has of these two cars. He has a championship leader and the winner last time out right on his tail, and he's actually stretching that lead out a little bit. We can see it was 6/10 coming out of the chicane, and that is a lot to try and gain by the end of this lap, even with the slipstream that he has.
Yeah, it certainly has. We always come to see Bob as a very competitive driver, and has not had the best of luck in this championship so far, but certainly trying to put on a show here at Daytona, and hopefully a good stepping stone for the rest of the season of what could have been really for Bob which is a bit unfortunate in the Evo SR team there, but does have them Team Bear Pope drivers of Michael Hooper, our current Pro-Am leader, and James Logston for company at the moment, and it's anybody's game. But same again as James Logston has certainly come on leaps and bounds there in second place currently in the Pro-Am, and maybe doing what Thomas Cope is going to do to Nikolai Frayne on the last lap, is try to make that move into through the last corner from the slipstream effect. But obviously Michael Hooper will want to probably win as well, so I wonder if we'll see a bit of team tactics here coming through. But I suppose Michael doesn't need the points, so letting James come ahead of him is probably helping the team out, and also helping James to try and leapfrog Patrick Thompson and Casper Tungsten in that Pro-Am battle. Because if we look further back, I'm just trying to see where those guys are. Patrick Thompson is 2 cars behind at the moment, probably 1 car as we said with Nathan, so not a lot of points gained, but I suppose at this stage of the season any points is an advantage you can get over the competitors in front of you in the championship.
Yeah, it's certainly an advantage, but Michael will want to win. You know, that's why we're in the commentary box. We're suggesting he might be happy with 3rd place overall in the class. He will want to win this championship so quickly and try and get it over and done with, as James Logston looks to the inside and now takes the lead, and Michael Hooper following him through, and it's now Team Bear Pope 1-2. So we'll just have to see what happens there. And Bob Humphrey now looking around the outside to try and get that position back. But Bob Humphrey, also, this is a great result, whether it's anywhere on this podium. It hasn't been there this season.
Not, but now he's in the prime seat. He does have that slipstream effect. 4 minutes left of this race to go, so Bob is in the position of a slipstream, but he does have to get past our current champion leader Michael Hooper in front of him, who does have the slipstream over James Logston. So James Logston is the one that is in the hot seat at the moment, having 0 slipstream effect, where the 2 cars behind do. And the problem is Michael Hooper cannot just play it safely, because he does have Bob Humphreys all over his rear bumper as well. So if a passing move's got to be done, I'm pretty sure that we will see Michael take that opportunity. As you can sort of see there, the closing speed of that Lambo just giving Michael Hooper there a little bump draft to his teammate coming into the bus stop. So this is going to be one last lap in a minute when we get onto it between these 3 to see who takes over as the Pro-Am win here at Daytona. But there's no question of the battle at the front between Nikolai Frayne and Thomas Cope. But we look further back at the Anfield, and Eric Rosaif and Thomas Asfag as they're another 2 that are joined at the hip really in this race. Eric has had an exceptional race. In fact, has he got a little bit of a gap? He does. 1.5 seconds gap over his teammate there in 8th of Thomas Asfag in 18th place. So does have a little bit of a buffer, and does have cars in front of him to get that slipstream effect as well. So he's in a really good position here to make the very first win in the AM Championship. Looking further back then at the rookies, Paul Joseph Cliss is still managing to keep ahead of Lewis McEvely, but the gap is not that big anymore. You can see on screen there, literally nose to tail. Lewis is right under the rear bumper now of Paul Joseph Cliss. Closed down that gap that Paul managed to get after the pit stops. And again, so all 4 classes are going to come down to the last lap to see who can win their respective class.
Yeah, it's going to be very close towards the end of this race in all the classes. As you can see, there is all over the back of Paul Joseph Cliff. James Logston has the attention of Bob Humphrey and Michael Hooper. The AM category is probably the most secure, because they are teammates and they will not want to take each other out. But Nikolai Frayne and Thomas Cope are so close together, and they should be getting the white flag this time, I believe, because there is only less than 1.5 minutes left on the clock, and it's Nikolai Frayne leading away. Thomas started to look. He must have had some kind of notice that the end of the race is coming, because Thomas is now all over the back of him, but he won't want to make the move too early, because that Nikolai Vito to try and make it back Nikolai defends down into the hairpin. Thomas Cope looking to the outside, trying to get the line on the exit, but it's just about being close up behind that Mercedes into the toe. But he doesn't want to be too close because you build up the speed and then you'd have to back off to go around Nikolai as they come through out onto the banking for what we believe is the final time. Nikolai Frayne and Thomas Cope side by side, going up high. Nikolai, I think, is basically trying to get Thomas Cope to go past him here so that he can get the toe to the line, and it's not going to work because Thomas is being clever and sitting behind him. Nikolai defends slightly into the chicane. As they go down into the bus stop, Nikolai Frayne will lead the way. Thomas Cope really quick through that first section of the course. They will come round onto the banking, and they are going to take the check flag this time by, it looks like. And Nikolai Frayne has a little bit of a gap. It's 1.5 tenths. Thomas Cope is stalking him. It's coming down. It's less than a tenth. Thomas Cope pulls out of the slipstream. Has he pulled out a little bit too late? They come into the line. They go past the pit lane entrance. They're side by side and they come to the line. And Thomas Cope takes the win here by 12 thousandths of a second. Aaron Powell will come home in third, but how close would you like it? And here we are in the Pro-Am field. Bob Humphrey has managed to make it past Michael Hooper, and he's now going to have, oh, what an exit from the chicane from Bob Humphrey. This is going to be between these two. I don't think Michael Hooper can make it, and there's a space on the inside. Why has James Logsdon done that? He's left the space on the inside for Bob Humphrey, and now James is going to have to get another toe. Is this going to be enough? It's a little tactic, I think, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Bob Humphrey is going to win the Pro-Am field just about by 6 thousandths of a second. Bob Humphrey takes win in the Pro-Am category. Now we go again. Am category. Eric Rusev and Thomas Ashberg. They're less than a second apart, but it looks like it will probably end this way because the slipstream is not, well, I might eat my words, but it's not that strong. And I think Eric Rusev is safe from Thomas Ashberg, and it's 1-2. The first 1-2 for Send It Racing, as we have 3 cars just ahead go side by side across the line, and Cody Scrat and Fowler. Rusev takes the win from Ashberg and then punts his teammate in celebration. Quite interesting there. And Lewis Cleverly is now, where is Paul Joseph Cliffs? Paul Joseph Cliffs.
Let's have a look.
They finished across the line, so this is them coming towards the line, and it was so close. For me, that looks like Paul Joseph Cliffs taking the win.
No, it was Lewis.
Was it Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis took the win there again. I don't think we've ever had four championship classes coming across the line where you're talking thousandths of a second between all 4 classes. I think every single one, apart from the AMs, which was a little bit, a massive, should we say, 0.3 of a second, but you know, the pros, the Pro-Ams and the rookies, literally thousandths of a second, just thinking they timed it perfection. I do not know what James Logsdon was doing there, giving Bob Humphreys the inside space. I could see what he was trying to do, but it just didn't work, and Bob was able to make that passing move tell. I mean, wow, what a great finish in them 3 classes.
I think it was a little too late. It's a nice idea by James, but it was too late. He did it too late, because as he let Bob through, across as he come round, it was just, he did it on the exit of the corner, but those are not of their practice results coming up there. So
what results for this?
So that's okay. And there's the race results. So in first place we have Thomas Cope winning by a huge 11 thousandths of a second from Nikolai Frayne, who just missed out on his first win of the season. But that is a great result for the RS Competition Esports car. Aaron Powell coming home in third place, continuing on his strong form from Suzuka. Scott Mokes had to settle for 4th from Arias Mantis and Kim Andre Borkland. Top of the Pro-Am, Bob Humphrey. I'm not sure many people would, no disrespect to Bob, would have called that at the start of today, but that Lamborghini absolutely flying, and he took full advantage of the tactics tried to be thrown by Team Bear Pope and James Logsdon. Logsdon, no second win on the trot, 2nd place and another podium for him. and the consistency's coming there for Logsdon. Will it be a late championship challenge by the American? Michael Hooper in 9th. 9th for Maximum with a question mark next to him for a 10th on his debut. Patrick Thompson 11th, which would be 5th in class currently, maybe 4th depending on Nathan Maximum. Tom Stevens 12th, Tom Bingham 13th. Then we had Cody Scratt and Fowler all across the line together. Look at that, 1 minute 13, all three of them. They were literally side by side just ahead of Eric Rusev. We just missed it because we were watching Rusev come across the line, understandably. Then in the Anfield, Eric Rusev taking the win from Thomas Ashberg. That's the top 18. In 19th, we had Christopher Otterholt, the Pro-Am driver, not having the best of days in his class. Whereas Sandra Island, another podium for the Sim Racing Norway guy, taking his championship lead just that little bit further ahead of Gordon Haug and Steve Pearce. Jimmy Vark finishing in 23rd, Sam Curran 24th, Jakob Behrens trying to recover in the Ford in 25th. Then we have the first of our rookies, Lewis McCleverley, just about, I mean, I called it as Paul's win, but it's Lewis's win on the timing screen, and that never lies. So Lewis takes the win from Paul Joseph Kliss, and that was I think probably the smallest gap we had out of all of them, if I'm honest. Daniel Slater in 28th. 29th, we will have the Kev Copeland car, which we saw in a spin earlier on, so good recovery by Kev. Strand 30th, Orvid Bredvik 31st in his first drive in the Ferrari, this time out for Team Fast Boys. Matthew Gerard taking a podium for the rookies in 32nd, Christopher Bertrand's 33rd, and then Simeon Mudderclef, we don't really know what happened to him. He was running 5th in class at one point. He's down to 34th. And then we have Matcha Spatunstad, Eric Steingen, Jürgen Eggestad, and Joe Sewell all at the start or during the race, retiring for one way or another. The biggest name there, Casper Tunstad, bit of damage to his Pro-Am championship.
I mean, wow. I mean, the pros super close, the Pro-Am super close, the rookies super close. I mean, that's 3 classes out of 4 that were super close. The AMs were only about 0.3 of a second between first and second. This track is just one to be able to keep the groups together if you can keep in each other's slipstream. And what a spectacle we've been proved tonight. But we do have a couple of drivers, and we do have our race winner here joining us in the box. Welcome to the box here, Thomas. I mean, you were saying at the start, and I remember speaking to you last week about this being one of your strongest tracks, but Nikolai Frayne pushed you right to the end there.
Yeah, Nikolai came out swinging. Really good pace by Nikolai and really good racing. I don't think it could have been any cleaner. And what a race. I mean, that was so fun at the end. Obviously, just about pipping him off on for the photo finish, obviously.
Yeah, I think it was 0.004 of a second you actually beat Nikolai there to the race win. I mean, did you think you were going to do it, or did you think you left it a little bit too late?
It definitely was tight. I mean, he was trying to play funny games. I'd say funny games. It's sportsmanship. He knew that P2 was the best position with the draft and everything in these cars. So he tried to get it from me and tried to let me go, but I just knew with the slipstream and everything and the run to the line, it was just going to be enough to get there. And as it shows, only just, obviously by, like I said, only a couple of tenths or hundredths.
I mean, we looked at your race. Your race was super close, 0.004 of a second. The Pro-Am field was not much more than that. The rookie field was that much more than that. I mean, this track in itself promotes that super quick finishes, or them photo line finishes in this race, if you can keep up with it, isn't it?
Yeah, this track's very rewarding. I mean, it's a very clean track. Everyone knows how to drive it. Everyone's got some really good pace, and it shows when you have events like this. I mean, up and down the field, you got photo finishes. Dare I say, you got photo finishes for like P5, P6 between cars as well, if anyone was close. So you're gonna have some good photos and some good moments throughout the whole race.
I mean, it definitely was. I mean, this is the perfect result for you after coming off the back of probably 2 poor results in your own eyes after a couple of lap 1 incidences. You come in first. Your nearest rival, Aaron Powell, who you're chasing, came in third, and Scott Mokes came in fourth. So, you know, the top of that pro standings is just getting tighter round after round after round. And I can sort of see it coming down to the grand finale in Le Mans in about a month's time. So, I mean, it's just lining up to be an epic pro championship at the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to the final race. I mean, the series you guys have put on promotes that with you're not winning many points for actually winning the race. I mean, I've still probably got to go and win another 2 races to actually catch up to Scott, because he still had a strong result. I mean, P4, it's a lot better than the bad results I've had in the most recent rounds. So
it certainly is. I mean, you achieved your aim that you set out earlier on in the week, which was really to win this race, but it certainly wasn't a plain sailing, not by any stretch of the imagination. And obviously a big shout out goes to Nikolai Thrain, who sort of pushed you right up into the end. I knew this was your strongest track. You are very strong in this, but Nikolai really put it to you that race.
yeah, 10th at the front of the field. So
I mean, it's great to have you in the box, Thomas. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I think we may have lost him there.
We got most of it though, didn't we?
We'll do the normal. He'll be doing the pictures ready for the next round, and thanks to Olympus Esports and his spotter, and at least he didn't take his teammate out in this race. But for our next interview, we do have Paul Joseph Kliss in the box. And Paul, that was a little close, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I missed out while it was trying to let the pros through and keep the 3-second gap I had. I could do it.
Was there any plan for you at the end? Obviously, you were battling with Lewis, and really, I mean, when you look back at the stream, you will see that every class finished pretty much. I think the biggest gap was 0.3 of a second at the end. Did you have a plan in your head for that final lap, or did you just think, I'll go for it and see what happens?
Yeah, we going side by side with Lewis. I thought Lewis broke a little bit early to get the strip stream. He did. I was gonna let Lewis go and then try and get the strip stream back on him. That's what we do at Daytona. But this time I just got it.
But a second place is still a great result for you in terms of a championship, and even with a small rookie field, it's going to be really close all the way to the end, I think.
Yeah, we'll definitely go to the last round at the Mans. That'll be interesting with Red Bull. But yeah, it's going to be a very close championship, gaining 4 points after their incident. That's a bit of a bonus.
Well, it's impressive to get 0 instant points at any point, especially with the bus stop chicane round here. You'll have to throw us some tips ready for the 24-hour. But before we let you go and you enjoy your Christmas break before we head back in the new year, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Olympus for Thomas Cope for helping Daytona. Really great help. Merry Christmas to you guys and everybody else.
And thanks for the messages, and well done on your second place overall.
Yeah, there was Paul Joseph Kliss there, obviously second place. But let's get in the first place, Lewis McEverly. Lewis, welcome to the comms box, mate. I mean, that was an interesting race there between you and Paul Joseph Kliss, and you literally just got it on the line. I mean, just take us through that race for you.
Oh, no, I did have the best qualifying. I think I was so far off the pace, just couldn't set the lap together. So I knew I had pace. I was just going to use in the race, and then I got a decent start. I got over Matthew into turn 1, which was really good, and then I just couldn't get past Kliss. I think I did get past them at one point, but then it was just defending, and I pitted, and then I missed my pit box. I didn't realise for a couple of seconds that I wasn't getting fueled, so I had to wait a second for that to happen. And then I lost it, and then I don't know what happened the second stint. I lost so much pace. And then I got back to the end, but there were so many cars fighting for position as well, so I think it was all luck at the end for me. But I definitely just at the line. It was such a good race though.
Yeah, there was your class. I think it was around about 0.4 of a second. In fact, 0.004 of a second. The pros was around about the same, and the pro-ams as well. I mean, we had 3 classes that literally on the line just pipped it. I mean, it sort of explains now to why you were 3 seconds more in your pit stop than what Paul was, because obviously you went into that pit round with a decent lead over Paul and sort of lost it all in there. But thanks for explaining to us why you lost all that time in there. But yeah, I mean, if you lose the slipstream in this round in Daytona, it really impacts you. And I think probably what helped you was you had a lot, like you were saying, the back markers. You had a lot of them to cling on to pull you back up to Paul's. We saw earlier on after the pit stop, Paul had the slipstream of the Thomas Cope and the Nikolai Thrain, which pulled him along. Then he lost that, and then you managed to get some slipstream to get it back, and then you just had a last lap grandstand, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. The slipstream, it's so powerful here. I didn't expect it to be that powerful. But yeah, I lost the slipstream. I was alone for a wee bit, and I just couldn't catch up. And then I got lapped by a couple of people who tried to stay in their slipstream, and it caught me up. And then obviously there was a lot of fighting with cars ahead, which slowed him down, and it brought me back into it. And then just on the last lap, I sent it, and was lucky.
It definitely was. This is some dubious send it moves from yourself on maybe some of the other classes, but we'll leave that to see what happens if any protests get put in against you. But, you know, taking that aside, another great victory for yourself. I mean, you're up to third place in the championship, closing down on Paul Joseph Kliss. You managed to get a couple more points over today. I mean, it's going to come down to Le Mans again to see who wins. I mean, how are you looking forward to the showdown between yourself and Matthew Gerard as well? So you 3 in that class, even though it's only a small class now, really providing some great entertainment. How are you feeling about going into the last 4 rounds of the season?
I'm feeling really confident. I feel like I've got the pace. Obviously, I've just not got a lot of time to practice because obviously I'm still in school. But with the wee holiday coming off the Christmas break, I should be able to practice more, get used to tracks. Because obviously I've never really raced on most of these tracks, like Daytona. I'd never raced it before, so it's definitely learning as I go. So I do feel confident.
Definitely is. Well, congratulations again on another first place in the Rookie Championship, which pays great dividends for us and the viewers for what will be the last 4 rounds in the Rookie Championship. Before we let you go, Lewis, is there anything you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just SRN. They've been really supportive, helping me get faster and quicker.
Well, that's great, short and sweet. That's what we like to see, Lewis. And congratulations on your race win, and look forward to seeing you after the festive break out on track again in January. So thanks, mate.
Bye.
So I think Dave, we got one more interview, and we'll get our season guru in, the Overlord, and you can have a chat with him.
Yeah, Tom Bingham joining us now. Tom, we could speak to you about your race first off. How did you find the Slipstreams Fest of Daytona?
Yeah, the race was actually amazing. I'm just trying to stop my YouTube playing at the moment. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the race was. I don't know if you can hear the feedback or not. Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic race. Absolutely fantastic. Some insanely close battling, and you know, exactly what you want from a race, really. I was trying desperately to catch Tom Stevens, but damn, that Lambo's fast, and the Merc was even faster. You know, the Merc was so fast on the straights, it just wasn't even funny.
Well, you had quite a clean run, I think, compared to a lot of the races you've had this season, and you were up there battling towards a podium position-ish, shall we say. So I would probably say, would you say that's probably one of your better drives this season?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it's not so much the drives that have been the problem. It's just been the silly little mistakes. I felt like I've had reasonable pace considering I'm in, now in Pro Am, which I shouldn't be in. But now I'm in Pro Am, it's definitely a lot more of a challenge to get near the front and put in a decent performance. So it's making me faster though, which is nice. But yeah, definitely a better race today than previous rounds.
And obviously, we've got the season as a whole. You're one of the sort of founding member along with Andy. How do you feel like the season's gone so far?
Yeah, it's been good. We've had a few little ups and downs, trying to use feedback from the drivers themselves to create a better racing environment for everybody, and taking on board what everybody has to say in order to create a league that's fun and competitive and doesn't cost a fortune, which a lot of leagues do. So we're just trying to do something a bit different and let the drivers themselves help us build this into a better league for everybody.
So we now head into the festive period, and which track are you looking forward to finish off the season?
I'm looking forward to Fuji actually, because I hadn't really driven it until last time, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Le Mans because I've done, oh god, well, everyone's done loads of hours at Le Mans, but I feel like I'm fairly competitive there. I feel like I'm fairly competitive at Daytona as well, but I just I was asleep on the start, got jumped by a few people, and then I had to claw my way back, but it happens. But yeah, Fuji's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Fuji and Le Mans.
And we've got to give you the chance. If there's anybody you want to say thank you to before we let you get on.
I just want to say a big thank you to all of the drivers, everybody watching the stream, everybody helping grow the channel. Please like, and if you've enjoyed the racing, please subscribe. It does help us grow and get bigger and bring more people on board. So thank you to all the viewers, drivers, obviously yourselves in the comms team, Lewis, Andy, yourself, Dave, Thomas Cope as well for photos, and just everybody that's had anything to do with the league. I really appreciate it. And I also got to thank my wife for putting up with my sim racing habit.
Yeah, we'll let you head back to the family and have a bit of a break.
Thanks, mate. Merry Christmas, everyone.
That was Tom Bingham. I think he was about 6th in class today. So we have one more, do we?
Yes, we do. We have Matthew Gerard. He's always in the comms who waiting for a chat in, but unfortunately, always the bridesmaid. Matthew, welcome to the booth. Not your best race here at Daytona. I mean, if we look at your season as a whole, started off really strong. Got a commanding lead in that rookie class. You've sort of been pegged back a little bit with Paul Joseph Kliss and Lewis McEvney in there. Are these the rounds that you've been dreading in the season, or did it just not come together tonight for you?
Yeah, g'day boys. Hey, no, it hasn't come together for me. Tonight, I think I was actually quicker than both Paul and Stephen, and just my own stupid mistakes for tonight's race. Spinning on that the corner going onto the oval side of things, and then I missed my pit box. I didn't realise I was right at the start of the pit entrance there, and stuffed that side of things up. So I basically had to go around again and do another pit stop. But yeah, even last week my own silly mistakes set me back again, and I just haven't been finding pace really. I was confident going in tonight, but then my own silly mistakes.
Well, I mean, I'll hold my hands up, and yet at least you didn't do what I did, and I stopped and tried to reverse back to my pit and got black flags. So at least you had the foresight to carry on going. So I'll hold my hands up to my mistakes. But it seemed to be a thing with that rookies, because we spoke to Lewis earlier on, and he missed his pit box as well. It's very off-putting if you're one of the first pit boxes when you go into that pit lane, and it's an easy mistake to do. But it's 2 rounds. You've had supposedly your poor results. You do have drop rounds, and obviously your other rounds are quite strong anyway. But looking at the championship as a whole, what it does do is it makes an absolute grandstand finish going into the final 4 rounds of the season between yourself, Paul, and Lewis. I mean, it's bad for you in a way that you you've lost points, but good for the championship in the whole and for our viewers to look at. But you know, you've got a bit of a break now. You can look at your performances, come back for the last full race, and start off on a clean sheet, really, can't you?
Yeah, 100% we can do that, eh? Go away, have some Christmas pudding, and then come back all refreshed next year and get back into it again and have a good time. I think it's going to be a real battle right to the end for us rookies, sorry. And it would be nice to see more rookies start showing up again. It's a bit disappointing to see so many have dropped away. I mean, all right, it's that time of year, Christmas functions and things like that happening, eh? But yeah, once maybe more people start getting into it again, hey, we might see more come back, and then it might open it up even more with guys and girls, I should say, thinking of Lydia there, challenging us up front and causing us a bit of drama along the way.
100%. I mean, obviously the field has depleted a little bit from what we started. I think it was around about 10 drivers, 11 drivers who started that season, and we got the three stalwarts, which are the three that we saw tonight, yourself, Paul, and Lewis. But like you said, you got Lydia there, who's still on the cusp of taking these top three. But I mean, just a personal thanks for yourself. I understand that you obviously get up early. It's early in the morning over there. It's literally late over here at the night. So everyone's had a full day. You've literally got out of bed and jumped in your rig and the race. And you know, I'd just like to say a personal thank from myself and obviously Performance Link for you to join the league as well over there and stick with it. So really appreciate your commitment to the cause, as I was said, and making it truly is a across the world platform that anybody can race in.
Yeah, that's the one. No, it's all good. Yeah, it is an early start. It's Monday morning over here, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm a shift worker, so I do get Mondays off sometimes, and today's one of those days. But it's a 6 a.m. start, getting up to meet the first practice. Hence a few comments there early in the stages of saying, hey, can we push the timing forward a little bit? Helped me a lot. So I've got to thank you boys for that. But no, it's been good fun. It's been a good league, and yeah, teething problems along the way, but hey, it's our first season, isn't it? So hey, hopefully I'll be back next season and see how it all goes.
Well, I certainly hope that you are back, mate. You've been one of the highlights of the league for us, certainly in that rookie class, and hope your fortune changed in the last 4 rounds. But before we let you go, Matthew, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I better do a shout out to excuse me, to my partner. She gets up after me and looks after the girls, gets them ready for school, and then I do a quick school run before getting into the actual race itself. So big thanks to her. And then I'm actually affiliated with Velocity Sim Lab. So thanks to them, Original Digital Design, JS Sim Shots, and Here to Race YouTube channel, and also Speedhouse. So they're my sponsor side of things. So yeah, thanks to all them and all the Velocity Sim Lab boys who have been helping me along the way.
Well, brilliant, Matthew. Thank you very much for joining us in the box, and it's great to finally get you in for a chat. And good luck for the final 4 rounds, and hopefully your fortunes change and it makes it a real grandstand finish at Le Mans.
Yeah, 100%, boys. Thanks very much, eh?
Cheers, Matthew. There was Matthew there, obviously not having the best of races here at Daytona, but with the close, compact nature of that top of the rookie class, it's turning into a grandstand finish between himself, Lewis, and Paul there. But that brings us to the end of this broadcast here. Daytona, big thank you to our sponsors, Performance Link, Green Future Technology, Extreme Scoring, STK Gaming, and also Thomas Cope Simography. So please look at all of them and please support them that have massively supported this league. But Dave, I mean, it's been a great event here at Daytona. We've got a little bit of a break now, and then we come back to the Red Bull Ring on the 8th of January. So it's going to be a really good run into the end of the season.
Yeah, we've got a couple of weeks. Was it 3-week break now until the end of the season? Till the run into the end of the season. 4 grandstand finishes here tonight. I mean, we said it was 0.3 of a second, the largest one, which is just ridiculous. And I'm sure Thomas will pick up some great photos of them finish line finishes. I've already seen a few in the Discord that people have took off the for replays. But what a season it's been so far, and we all get to go away, put on a bit of weight, drink, have a couple of drinks, celebrate the new year, and then we'll be back for the final 4 rounds of this championship, which is just going to be super close throughout.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, all the championships are still up for grabs, and I think that's very much down to the point scoring system we have here this season, where nobody can really stretch away from the field. But it's going to be an epic run-in. I'd just like to echo what Tom said about, you know, thanking everybody on the channel who's watched us. We get some great views on these streams. You know, give us that thumbs up, give us that like, and if you haven't already, think about subscribing and clicking the bell to notify when we go live. We are in our first season here. It's been a hard slog. We've made little tiny mistakes along the way, but who doesn't in their first season? And we're only going to come back bigger and stronger with some other really good and interesting events on the horizon, for some endurance events for the guys to really get in the teeth about. We're all about the drivers. We don't charge a lot. We give some great prizes, and we very much give back to the drivers and give them the platform to be able to race how they want to race. But from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse, and from Lewis, who literally ran through his door and jumped on his rig, so really do appreciate that, Lewis, to get this stream up and running. It saved me doing the production again, so thank you. Personal thank you from me. But until the 8th of January, this has been Daytona round number 9. Look forward to seeing you then. Good night.